In every city, there are buildings no one talks about. Forgotten ones. Peeling paint, flickering hallway lights, buzzing radiators. Places swallowed by silence and rot. When Malik Raines, a freelance videographer, took a temporary apartment on the 13th floor of a condemned high-rise, he thought it was a steal. Cheap rent, short lease. He didn't know what waited for him in apartment 313. No one warned him. No one could.
The building was called the Marlowe Tower. Once a modernist marvel in the 1960s, it had decayed into a concrete skeleton. Most of the floors were condemned. Only a handful of tenants remained. Strange, silent people who avoided eye contact and rarely left their units. Malik wasn't picky. He was between jobs, working on an urban exploration documentary. He figured the creepy vibes would make great B-roll. The landlord, an old man with glassy eyes and the shakes, offered him Unit 313 for half price. Top floor, end of the hall, no neighbors. "You won't hear a thing up there," the man said, almost proudly. Then added, "If something knocks, don't answer." Malik laughed. He signed the lease. Day 1. The elevator shuddered violently as it crawled toward the top floor. The 13th floor button was faded, almost rubbed clean, but it still worked. The hallway outside was strangely cold. Apartment 313 sat at the very end. The door was painted shut around the edges like it hadn't been opened in years. Inside, bare floors, no furniture, the smell of dust and old paint. But something about the layout felt wrong. The angles didn't match up. The windows looked out onto brick, though he was at the top of the building, and the living room was too long. It seemed to stretch slightly more every time he looked at it. He set up his camera gear and unpacked a sleeping bag on the floor. That night, the first sound came. A knock, 3 soft knocks, not at the door, but from inside the wall. Day 3. Malik began hearing whispers during the night. Software indistinct, male and female voices, overlapping in low tones. He checked the vents, the floorboards, the pipes. Nothing. He left his camera rolling overnight, hoping to catch the noise. What he saw on the footage made him sick. While he slept, the shadows on the far wall began to move, stretching, shifting. At one point, a hand, long-fingered and skeletal, reached out from the wall, paused, and slowly retreated. Malik told himself it was a trick of the light, compression artifacts, some glitch, but he started keeping a knife under his pillow. Day 4. He explored the building for answers. The other residents wouldn't speak to him. One old woman spat on the floor when he mentioned 313. A man on the second floor warned him, "That unit ain't empty. It's just wearing the building like skin. You shouldn't be there." When Malik asked the landlord, the man grew pale. Said 313 had been sealed off in 1981, after a tenant named Vivian Merrick murdered 4 of her neighbors, then slit her own throat. But the body was never found. Just blood, smears, and a message scratched into the drywall. "It took me out of time. It won't let me leave." After that, the room stayed empty. Until now. Day 5. Malik started seeing her. Vivian, a woman in a torn nightgown, her neck opened like a second mouth, smiling with teeth that didn't belong. He saw her reflection in the mirror, just for a second. Saw her standing at the end of the hallway. He started losing time, waking up hours later in places he didn't remember going. One time, he came to standing in front of the elevator, holding a broken shard of mirror in his hand. Another time, he was in the laundry room, surrounded by piles of wet clothes that weren't his. Day 7. The hallway on the 13th floor changed. It had more doors now, dark wooden ones with no handles. Sometimes they opened on their own, and sometimes something looked back. That night,
Malik tried to leave. He packed his gear, stormed toward the elevator. But when he hit the button, the doors opened to nothing. Just black. A void. Wind rushed from it. Warm, fetid wind that whispered his name. He turned and ran back to the apartment. But 313 had changed. The walls were wet, breathing. The floor stretched out into a long corridor, lined with mirrors, all reflecting Vivian's smiling face. Day 8. Malik woke up with symbols carved into his chest. He didn't remember doing it, didn't remember bleeding. But the blood was still wet, and something was waiting in the living room. A tall, skeletal silhouette, its head constantly twitching, as if glitching out of reality. It said nothing, just watched him, and smiled. Day 9. His final video recording was uploaded automatically to the cloud. No one knows how. It was 3 minutes long. Malik sits on the floor, speaking directly into the camera. His eyes are bloodshot. His mouth shakes. It's not a haunted room, he says. It's a mouth, a thing that wore her face. It lives in time like we live in air. I've been here a week, but I haven't moved. I think I'm still in the elevator. I never made it out. Behind him, shadows twist on the walls. You can hear the knocking again. But now, it's coming from inside Malik's chest. The video ends with him whispering something over and over. I am room 313, I am room 313, I am. The building was condemned 2 weeks later after a fire broke out on the top floor. No body was recovered. Only scorched walls and one melted video camera. Residents who lived on the lower floors reported hearing knocking for days after the fire, coming through the vents, and sometimes late at night. If they listen closely, they say they still hear Malik whispering from inside the walls.